asking, what are those? So before we talk about marine invertebrates, just answer that question. So that obviously came from a vertebrate, from a large one. It is a whale. Now there are a lot of different species of whale. I'm going to care to guess what type of whale? I'm going to give you a hint as to what these are. The ones that are hanging over the beam, those are ribs. This one here, you guys know what this is, right? Okay, it is, yeah, it is.
That's what's broken, not you.
Okay. And this one over here, do you guys see the little laying down there? Is that better? Okay. A lot of people think it's a fin because it kind of looks like it. But if you were to look at a whale, the bones in the whale, you'd be very surprised because it's about a mirror-ish of this. They have 1 bone, 2 bone, and 5. So it's not a fin. Finger. No, it is this bone right here. It is the lower jawbone, 1 of 2. And you guys saw how big that was when I picked it up? That is from a juvenile gray whale. So that's not even their size. Yes. Not that one. So yeah, so that's from a juvenile gray whale. Gray whales can be up to about 40 feet. So they're large animals.
40 feet.
And females are larger than males.
So that's like the length of a standard, like, Rambler house.
Yes.
Think about that.
Big animals.
A house.
A very big animals.
Swimming house.
So back to our invertebrates. A teacher's been telling me that you have been studying some classification. All right, pop quiz. I've written on the board an animal, classified, all the way down to species. Does anybody know what it is? Yes. Yep. That is humans. Yes, of course, because we are, of course, animals as well. But we're going to be talking about some animals that are not in the phylum Chordata. But we're going to be talking about some animals that are in some other phylums that I'm hoping you can tell me what they are. Now, teacher also said she told you no puppets. I do use puppets to show different parts of bodies. Would you rather I not use puppets? I promise I won't play with them and I won't make them speak in little voices.
We're girl puppets.
Okay, purely for looking at body parts. Okay. So the first animal I talk a little bit about is one of my absolute favorites because their adaptations are absolutely amazing. So everybody can tell me this is a puppet of sea star, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What phylum do sea stars belong? I'll give you a hint, it starts with an E. Echinodermata? Yeah, it's kind of a mouthful.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, Echinodermata. Somebody know what that means? The really cool thing about Latin names is that they are very descriptive. It's helpful if you speak Latin, but if not, it can help you. So it means spiny skin. Okay, so to some degree, all echinoderms have spiny skin. With some of them, they're very, very hard and rigid. Sometimes they're very pokey, as in the sea urchins, right? Sea cucumbers even have the spines. Okay, but they're nice and soft and rubbery. One of my favorite things to touch. So besides having spiny skin, what other things do all echinoderms have in common? I'll give you a hint. I'm going to use my puppet. You ready for it? They all have what we call tube feet, okay? Because they're shaped like little tubes, and of course, they're little feet. Now, they do have suction powers, but they're not suction cups like an octopus. And that's sometimes confusing for people saying, well, why is an octopus an echinoderm? Does it have suction cups? They use water pressure, kind of like a turkey baster, for their suction. In fact, if you look at them internally, it's pretty much what it looks like. It looks like they have a circle of pipe going along their arms, and a turkey baster stuck to them, which is the best way to describe it. So, sea stars, of course, use their 2 feet for a couple of things. They use them for moving around, obviously. Okay. They also use them for getting their food. So what kind of things do sea stars eat? I mean, it's super, super slow. Right? So it's going to have to have adapted to eat things that are filter feeding. They do a lot of filter feeders. But they're carnivores, but they eat filter feeders. Because most filter feeders do what? Move around a lot?
No.
No, most of them are really slow or stuck in one place.
Clams?
Okay? Clams, mussels, barnacles, things like that. But if you're a sea star and you want to eat a clam or a mussel, you do need to open it to get into that soft body. So how does the sea star open a clam?
Beak?
It does not have a beak. That's a very good idea, and we're going to get to an animal that does have a beak. Okay? It doesn't have a beak. Think about this. If you did not have your hands, but instead you had all these little feet that had the ability to suck onto stuff, and I gave you a clam, how might you open it?
Pull it apart.
Pull it apart, exactly. Okay. Sea star's going to wrap those arms around the clam shell and start pulling. Now, clams are really strong, so they don't just pop right open. Okay? It'd be a lot easier to eat them if it were. So it's going to be trying really hard to stay shut, but these guys can actually pull out stopping for sometimes 3 or 4 hours. Absolutely amazing. It'd be like taking about a 10, and they do it with about 10 pounds of force. So that'd be like picking up a bag of sugar and holding it like this for 4 hours without stopping. Pretty amazing. Once the clam is open, or the barnacle, or whatever it's eating, the sea star has an amazing adaptation to eat. You know what it is? It is so cool. A little bit disturbing, but very cool.
Yeah, they like open up and stuff like
They do. And think about why that's a really good adaptation. Sea stars are very flat. And that is really helpful where they live. Why would it be helpful to be flat if you're living in the tidal zone?
You won't be swept away.
Okay, number one, really streamlined. Okay? When the water's moving in and out, it's not a gentle little stream. That water's moving and there's a lot of force behind it. Okay? So if you are big and tall, it might sweep you away, knock you over. But if you're flat, it just goes right over you. Also, if you're flat, you fit under rocks really well. And if you go under a rock, that's a really great way to hide. Okay? But the trade-off is, what is going to fit inside of here? Very little. Okay? So, the way they get around it is the sea star has actually has 2 stomachs. The pyloric and the cardiac stomach. The cardiac stomach actually turns inside out. And it shoves that into the clamshell, the muscle, whatever it wants to eat. Has these really powerful digestive enzymes that actually will dissolve the clam, kind of makes it into like a clam shake. And then, as it absorbs it into the lining, it passes along to the pyloric stomach and into the rest of the body. And they'll keep this out, the entire time they're digesting, so it'll be hours, sometimes days, depending on what they're eating, which is pretty amazing to see.
So is it?
And this is another reason I use puppets. Sea stars really don't like it when I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Is their stomach then exposed, or because
yes.
and that not dangerous or?
It can be very dangerous. If you go around throwing your stomach out of your body,
Yeah.
you might lose it. And sea stars have a really amazing ability to regenerate or biogenerate. They can regrow things in their body. I mean, we can too. That's why we get haircuts, that's why we cut our nails. Our skin heals, our bones heal. Sea stars can actually grow entire arms back. They can regrow their 2 feet. And in some cases, they can regrow their stomach. Which is pretty amazing.
If they couldn't grow it back, how would they eat?
If they couldn't grow it back, they wouldn't eat and they would die.
Why would they eat it? They were growing.
Oh, wow.
They won't while they're growing back. Very good question. While they are regrowing their stomach, they will not have the ability to eat. So that's why if you have a healthy sea star, they can do it. If you have an unhealthy sea star, then you don't have that option. Just like with people or other animals, if you're healthy, you're going to heal a lot better. All right, so let's talk